Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to You Mix Cocktails. And we're here with a very special guest, Warren Bobrow. He's most well known for being the author of Cannabis Cocktails. Warren, thank you for coming to the show.
I'm honored. What a great thing.
Absolutely.
I didn't expect this.
Yeah, it's a little out of the blue. So, as you may or may not know, we're here in New Orleans. We're here for Tales of the Cocktail in Louisiana. Really exciting. We're under the shade, so we're not being hit by the rays too hard. But it's great. We met up with Warren. He's here to really talk to us and let us know what his background is. So
We're going to drill down a little bit. So, I love food. And originally I was a food writer and I wrote about wine as well. But I saw the quality of the writing out in the cocktail field. And not that it wasn't good. Sure, it was good. There were some really, really great writers out there. But I felt that I could do better. and for a long time I did not do better, but then suddenly I did start doing better, and after 5 books I think I've done okay.
5 books, wow. So how do you feel about Tales? Really?
I love Tales. Tales is Ann Tutterman and her husband Paul have done more for New Orleans than most anything. I mean, we have Mardi Gras here, you have Halloween. Those are different events. This is something that's very specialized, and I'm just really honored to be here and share what I know, how little I know, and be as passionate about the city that is not always an easy place to be, especially when it's 100 degrees, 100% humidity. But I do the best job I can, and I love what I do, so it's easy.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a beautiful city. It's great for us bartenders as well and mixologists. But really, so how do you think it really benefits not just the bartenders?
Well, it's camaraderie, certainly, and I think that there's knowledge in camaraderie. So when you see people from all over the world, and the United States certainly, but all over the world as well, you realize that it really is a very small community of bartenders. There's a lot of people who tend bar, but very few people who tend life. And that's what I believe what we do. We tend to people's lives. We become almost like therapists in our own way because we're treating them with a different type of medicine. Our medicines are distilled. The medicines that they're more accustomed to may be dispensed in a pill form. Cannabis cocktails, I want to give the medicine in the liquid form. So you have the ability of taking your medicine and not antagonizing anyone around you. It's not like lighting up a joint in front of the Federal Reserve. You probably wouldn't do that. But you may want to have a glass of infused Vietnamese iced coffee. Cooling, refreshing, very peaceful. I think that brings people together, especially if I was handing out Vietnamese iced coffees here and they had the cannabis-infused condensed milk, and everyone would just get happy.
Yeah, that's great, Warren, because really you think about cocktails culture, and really everybody has their own taste, their own flavor profiles, their palates, but then you're kind of, when it comes to cannabis, right? It's either you smoke it or most people do smoke
or they use edibles, and those are wildly out of balance. I mean, what affects me might not affect you, but you might take 2 bites and the world is ending. And that's the problem with edibles, because they really don't have a good method of dosing. I know what affects me. I know what works for me. In the book, it's been said that the recipes are strong. Say if they're strong, drink half as much. Take the principle of Thai food. Do you like Thai food? When you eat spicy foods, you want to start low. You can always add more. You don't want to start high, so to speak, and try to take it away, because you can't take it away once it's inside your body. So I always say, not more than 1 drink per hour, and absolutely wait an hour to see how you feel before you have that second drink.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the thing. And then when it comes to
with bartenders, they've heard about this book. They're interested in this book because they want to try it out, and I tell them how to do everything. There's no secrets. There's no mystery. It's the truth. So when I work around people who are obviously young, obviously talented, trying to make a name for themselves in a business that's pretty saturated with talent, you don't get to come to New Orleans if you're just some idiot. You really know what you're doing. you know where you're going, and you know how to get there. And how you get there is you attend the seminars. You talk to people who may know a thing or two more than you do. You can share. They can share. The consensus is Tales of the Cocktail. It's not that I'm better than you. It's not that I know more than that person over there. We all have something to teach each other, and Tales is where it all comes together.
It's that camaraderie. said the word before, and it's excellent.
Yeah, and
example.
you can feel it. It's very tangible. Because many of us are fortunate to start at the bottom. We didn't just go and apply for a job or go to bartending school and say, now I'm a bartender. The people that I really respect in our industry are the ones who started like myself as a barback and worked their way up from the very bottom. And I remember when I said to Chris, I'm looking for a job as a bartender, and he said, well, I don't need a bartender.
I need a barback.
I need a barback. And if you want to learn this craft and understand it, become passionate about it, I need those trash cans cleaned out. And every night going forward, those trash cans need to be emptied and cleaned and sterilized, and then we do the floors. And then if the steward can't do the bathrooms, you're going to do the bathrooms. And if they can't need help in the kitchen, you're going to help them in the kitchen. Because I'm there to help them, to learn in my heart that I made the right decision of what I wanted to do in life. This is not easy. I joined the Ryland Inn at 50 years old, I'm 55 now, and the people I was working with are half my age. And it's tough to keep up,
right.
But I did.
Yeah, I was a barback myself. That's where I started.
That's right, you have to.
Yeah, and it's great. There's a lot of people who say, oh, some people are privileged to just go straight into the bar, but other people say,
I don't think you have any credibility.
Yeah.
And when I was training to be a chef, I started as a pot scrubber, and I worked my way up to dishwasher. Dishwashers didn't do the pots, didn't do the pots and pans, they just did the dishes. The pot scrubber was the guy who cleaned everything, and it's not a pretty job, so once you do that, you can do anything. And food is not pretty when it's churned up in front of you. So, there are reasons why I do what I do.
Now that we touched upon it, actually, since there's such a big, broad spectrum of really cocktails, we're talking, there's a beauty in gin and tonics, but I'm talking about the type of cocktails and craft cocktails, of course. And you mentioned before the bartending school. So what is your take on the bartending school and how people really feel like they just got out of bartending school and they're privileged to,
Let me tell you, if you go to bartending school, I doubt you really want to be a bartender. The reason why I say that is you need to have someone teach you how to do everything. You're in the wrong job. You need to learn by doing as opposed to learn by being shown. Learn by being shown is only one side. That's why being a barback is so brilliant, because you're constantly you're learning the techniques. You're learning not to shake a Manhattan. I didn't know that. Honestly, I didn't know that. The first time I worked for Chris, someone ordered a Manhattan, and there I was, and he said, "Oh," and he said, "Get over here." Get over here. He said that he taught me how to stir, and he taught me what things to do, what not to do. I would never take the time to do that. So bartending schools, yeah, they're good, but I think they're better if you want to work in a hotel or work in banquets or work on a cruise ship. Sure. I went to culinary school for a time at Johnson & Wales, and the jobs that they were hiring after graduation at Johnson & Wales were not fine dining restaurants, they were prisons and cruise ships. Wow. You can make a lot of money working in a prison as a chef, and you can make a lot of money working on a cruise ship as a chef, and those were the jobs that they needed most at that time in 1986, 1987. Okay. They needed jobs in cruise ships and prisons, and that's what they trained you, institutional cooking. Institutional bartending is a lot the same thing. Most bartending schools are just dealing with strictly the numbers. They get them in, get them out, get the next guest in front of you, and it's not even a guest, it's just a customer. So, not that bartending schools are bad, far from, but I don't think they're entrusted in what I do, which is flavor-based mixology, based on my culinary background as being a saucier, soups, stocks, and sauces. I build my drinks like I make my soups, with ingredients that are carefully chosen with love. And I think that's absolutely essential. And they can't teach you that in a bartending school. If you really want to learn about flavor, you go to like a Votech, a culinary program. Pay virtually nothing. Why do you have to go to the Culinary Institute where it's $60,000 a year when you can go to your community college like I did up in Maine when I didn't know what I was doing and it was winter time and no one was working anyway, and I took culinary classes in Votech College. And they said, what the hell are you doing here? We're going to help you get into Johnson & Wales. That's where you should be. So bartending is the same thing. You can become that machine that can work a wedding for 500 people and not feel a thing, or you can make every single drink like it's the last drink that you'll ever make, and with all the passion of showing that this is something that comes from the heart.
that love and care, the TLC that we always say behind the bar.
And I believe that's what you do too, because I see you work with a smile. So I think that's important to. It's not all just ferociousness. It's working with a smile and being able to be yourself. Because it translates, especially when you cook. When you cook and you have a smile on your face, your hands get warm, and food just tastes different. But when you cook with that attitude, your hands are cold, and the food is affected. I was taught by women in the kitchen. My favorite teachers were women because they cooked with passion.
Absolutely.
And the warmth in their hands made food taste pliable, and it would melt because it had passion. But many of the cooks I work with, they walk around like they have a stick up their proverbial rear end, and they're so full of themselves, and they've lost control of the fact that they are students in a kitchen, not know-it-alls in a kitchen.
Absolutely.
You don't ever want know-it-alls in a kitchen.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a quote. Tess Posmus, she's the bartender, the Dutch bartender, really.
Okay.
She's very, very well known, world class as well. She said, take your profession very seriously, but never take yourself too seriously.
Oh no, my God, no! You can't take yourself seriously at all. And, I'm just the luckiest guy in the world. I worked in banking for 20 years. I lost my business in Charleston in Hurricane Hugo in 1989.
Wow.
And I worked only nights and weekends in wine stores and gourmet shops because I just was scared. I literally was scared. I didn't have the skills that it took to be the person that I needed to be at that point to make a living. And I got a high-paying job, a relatively high-paying job, and I couldn't leave. And for 20 years, I did something that every single day was a drag. The takeaway is, you're not getting any younger. Seize the opportunity while you have it,
Carpe diem.
and then go forward. And my path has not been easy. It's not been easy. I'm not a wealthy man. I don't have a family that to fall back on and say, here, help me. I sing for my own supper. And it's been painful. It's been very painful, but just the simple fact that I'm here doing this, I know there's greater things in store.
Very inspirational and influential as well.
But I want the inspiration. The influence is only something that's one-sided. I want something that I inspire you to become better. I want to be that person that you look to and say, how can I raise the bar? How can I go to the next step? Maybe I'll ask Warren what he thinks. That's what you're doing right now, and that's what's valid for me.
Now that actually brings it back to the next question. Where do you see cocktail culture going? How does Tales, Tales is a small bit of the puzzle really,
Yeah.
but how does Tales affect the community, the people outside?
I'd like to say that it filters down to all parts of the industry, and being the Tales, it started from something very, very small, like a conversation between friends, and became something that's almost like a juggernaut, an unstoppable beast. I mean, it really is. I almost yearn for the days when I first started going, and it wasn't quite so large, but you have to look at it from a financial standpoint as well. And if it doesn't generate capital, then why do it? What happened to the Manhattan Cocktail Classic? The greatest city in the world, could have been the greatest event in the world, but they went to their heads and they weren't able to manage it. So what Tales has done is it brings people together in a manner that we're all learning from each other. Where does it go from here? Well, you're starting to see more large liquor companies paying attention to what's going on in a very technical standpoint, what the new trends possibly are going to be, or not. But what I look to Tales to do for me is to see what my peers are doing. Because I can read it in a magazine, but those things are paid for articles. Those are paid for by PR agencies who may have a direct idea of what they want to influence. And it's not a true business. It's not someone who's up and speaking for them rather than hard speaking. So when I see the large PR agencies and I see the large liquor companies spending more time down here in Tales, I hope that they're taking away just one or two things, not that this is going to be the way it is. It's not. I think it evolves organically. And talent is such that in the last 10 years I've seen such incredible strides made going forward with people who, like myself, had culinary backgrounds who went back into the bartending world or the mixology world, or they became writers. Now there are very few of us out there who actually worked in a disc sink or scrubbed pots and pans. I think I'm probably the only one. But it gives me a certain credibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives you a certain extent. And then we were talking about, again, going back to the apothecary, and again, the people and the culture in general, how cocktails really influence the people and community as a whole. How do you see it? Well, right now we're going through a renaissance.
We are, absolutely. But it hasn't happened in a lot of places yet. So our renaissance is happening right now, but I was out in Las Vegas at WSWA, and they're still stuck on flavored vodka.
Wow.
I call it the flavored vodka show. There's 18,000 flavored vodkas out there, you've heard about them, but each one is a 20 million case, per year product.
Wow.
Who's drinking this? Well, necessarily want to know who's drinking it, because they're not drinking it like we would drink it. They're drinking it, it's vodka, it's soda, it's no citrus, because the citrus is from last year. Yeah. So it's vodka soda with flavored vodka, and I'm supposed to be impressed by that. Now, in certain parts of our country, in the United States, whipped cream vodka, chocolate vodka, seltzer water, that's all they can imagine. That they know nothing more than that. That's the extent of their knowledge. My job in life is to write books that say, here's an interesting cocktail. It only has 3 ingredients. See if you can make it. Sure, not many of the liquors that are in here are a little difficult to get, but we have a global village now, and you really can order almost anything wherever you want. And if you have trouble finding something, get in touch with me and I'll help you. And that's how I am. I offer bar and tea service for all my books. If you have a problem, get in touch with me and I'll walk you through it. And if it doesn't work for me, then it obviously hasn't worked for 100 other people. Then I really want to know how I can make it better than this.
Sure. Yeah, and again, in that same vein, where do you see really, because the Renaissance we mentioned before has getting momentum.
Right. Okay. Well, ice. Let's look at the core level. Ice. Ice, I believe, is the most important subject, the most important ingredient in the cocktail. When I go to other people's cocktail bars and I see what kind of ice they use, I pay attention. And if they're using those little crescent-shaped quarter cubes, I know that they're taking advantage of their guests. Because the second that any of that mixer or liquor hits that, the water releases and the pour is all watered down. And for me, that's taking advantage of someone in their pocket. And that's the worst way. They work very, very hard for their relaxation. Right. And to have it watered down is just, it cheapens the experience. Yeah. So it's so easy. When I go into I just did a bar out in Wisconsin. I top to bottom, the entire list and training. And I said, you guys have freezers here? Yes. Is there room in them? Probably. I said, get some of those big Tupperware containers, boil some water a couple times, fill it up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to start hand cutting your own ice. It's easy. It doesn't take much time. You can get the stewards to do it. When they're not washing dishes, they can be cutting ice for you. I believe in a bottom-up approach to bartending, not a top-down approach. So I want to get all the people in the organization involved. If you have a special way of making something, we're going to put it on the cocktail menu. If you have an ingredient that excites you, we're going to build a cocktail around that. And what that does is empowers your dish people. It empowers your stewards. It empowers people who don't have a voice. And so I believe always in bringing people up from the bottom, as I did. I started at the very bottom in the restaurant business, at the very bottom in the bar business. I was lucky.
Yeah.
They saw that I had talent. People asked me, what the heck are you doing washing dishes? You look like a cook. Oh yeah, I was raised in Europe and I've cooked all over. Well, why aren't you cooking? Because I need my chops. I need to learn how to do it from the bottom. So if someday I become something in my life, I can always say I started at the bottom and worked my way up. Not I started up here and I'm something a bartender.
Yeah. We were in a seminar yesterday, and they were talking about taking the reins of an existing program. Yeah. And really, one of the main questions was how to raise morale or keep morale high. Yeah. Within the staff that you just recently.
How you do it is you empower the bottom of the bottom of the house. You give someone a special task. If they have their side work, it's an additional side work, but they will be part of the cocktail program. And that, man, cocktails are important. I may not be a big drinker, but I'll tell you, you can get the admiration of all your friends by making a great cocktail. I think I've done that pretty well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you see now? Where do you see? We're talking about all these cocktails and people really, but and on a consumer standpoint, where do you see 5 or 10 years from now? The people.
I'm hoping to see more premixes of cocktails, kind of like Charles Jolly is doing in Chicago with his craft house cocktails. I love that the fact that it's all self-contained. It's top quality. It's absolutely delicious. You use only the best ingredients. They bottle it and they sell it in the store. But this South Side is just perfect. This is an absolute perfect drink. It's in balance. Nothing is out of place. The liquors that he chooses are all within the realm of the high end of the scale, and it's delicious. And it has his name to it as well. And I know he would not be involved with something if it wasn't perfect.
Wow.
So that's where I see cocktails going. I see it, in the cannabis world, I want to see almost like a pre-mix with the cannabis already in it, so I can add the liquor of my choice and have a perfectly balanced craft cocktail that involves THC, alcohol, juices, all fresh squeezed, flash pasteurized on the shelf in the supermarket.
Wow.
That's where I see it going.
You're saying almost like a perfected margarita mix.
But it's charged with THC, so it's active.
Yeah.
And this, that's a little bit down the road, but that's what I'm thinking in my mind, where I'd like to see it, where I can put my name on it and say I'm proud of the product, and here's why. It has all the stuffing, and it's up to you to add the liquors that you want to that, and you have a perfectly maintained cocktail that you can put together in 2 seconds, and it's as professional as anything that's being done in any craft cocktail lounge in the world.
That's great.
That's where I see it going.
Absolutely. Well, see, there you have it, folks. This has been Warren. Thanks again for coming by.
My brother.
All right.
Great to see you.
Good. This is You Mix Cocktails. Make sure to like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.
Cheers.
Cheers.